to stop. Yeah, and if you don't like it, you better take your ass up to the snooty box, because this is the loud spot. Okay, see you later.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loud Spot. I'm your host, Sebastian Cosme, right out of Oklahoma City. Today we have Brian from MVK Music Group out of Orlando, Florida, correct?
That's correct.
How are you, man?
I'm doing well. I'm trying to battle the heat out here, but otherwise doing really, really well. So
I'm so jealous that you're in Florida, right? Like, I love the weather in Florida.
Yeah, I love the weather too, but sometimes, it gets to the point where it's like, it's 90 degrees or 80 degrees, but it feels like it's 100, and 40. So it's, so there's good parts and bad parts of it. Yeah, for sure.
So MVK Music Group, I think I know what that stands for, but let's have you explain what MVK stands for.
Yeah, so MVK itself doesn't actually stand for anything particular. I kind of get around to how we came up with the name. So we do co-own my business partners and I co-own a secondary company that was started before MVK called Maverick Apparel Company. Music themed apparel. We basically sell to the fans, and we endorse bands all across the US, over in Europe and the UK and whatnot. So we kind of did that as a branding tool. And while we were building out MVK, we didn't really have a name for it at the time, and we were kind of sitting around thinking about it. And, we were like, what about Maverick Music Group? And we kind of said, well, wait a minute. Madonna owns a record label called Maverick. And we're like, no, we don't want to go down that route. So, we kind of toyed back and forth with some names, couldn't figure out something. And we just said, well, why don't we just call it MVK? Just take the three main letters that, that kind of stood out in the word and just cut out all the rest of them. And it just became MVK Music Group in that way. So.
Okay, so people don't think I'm lying. I actually did think I might have known what it meant. People would be like, you liar. I thought it stood for like movement something. From the website peeking around, I saw some movement and music. Yeah. So I was putting things in my head together. So anyways, when and how did you wind up getting started with MVK?
Yeah. So, between my business partners, I have two business partners, Jesse and Attila. We kind of had the idea a while back. A lot of us have worked in various aspects of the entertainment industry, done some stuff in music. And I saw one of the things we noticed was we got to see the good, the bad, the ugly side of the business side of music. And we were sitting around talking while we were, kind of coming up with an idea of what we wanted to do in the music side of business. And said, you know what, the one overall thing that every business was doing was putting themselves first, putting the business first, and not really putting the artist first. And so we kind of sat there and we said, okay, we're going to build it on the premise of how we want to differentiate ourselves from everybody else.
Right.
And so, I said, well, why don't we just focus on being artist centric, being artist first? And, everybody agreed. I mean, it was one of those things where we knew that was going to be our focus. We wanted to disrupt the system as it was, and really, really, truly be a megaphone for artists out there. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of launched with that premise and then started to build everything around that. Part of our culture in the Maverick side was that we were always, we consider our bands, our partners, everybody a family. So we carry that over to the MVK side. So we don't ever refer to our bands as really like one of our customers or clients or just one of our bands. We always say it's part of our family, part of the MVK family, part of the Maverick family. So
that's pretty cool. How many artists does MVK currently have? Is it more of a label or management or both?
Not a label. We do get that a lot, and we actually are in the process of, prior to COVID, we were looking at building out a label side as an option. But we are strictly management, artist development, and we offer other services, booking, recording, things like that. But on our roster, we have 15 different artists. So anybody that goes to our website, checks out our artists, the one thing you'll notice is very diverse in genre. We work with basically, on the management side, we work with basically any genre with the exception of pop and hip hop. We've got reggae, country, metal, hard rock, indie, just a little bit of everything on there. So on the management side, that's really our focus is on managing those bands, promoting them, getting them, airplay into festivals, things like that. And then for the bands that we don't manage, we do offer various other services that are available to anybody.
Okay, now why does MVK decide to kind of stay away from pop? Because you're doing country, you're reggae and rock. So
Yeah.
you would think pop would kind of fit in there a little bit, but why choose to not dabble in on that side?
Good question, and we get that a lot. So it's kind of two reasons. One of those is because we kind of felt like the hip hop and the pop side get a lot of label love. They get all the attention, not so much for the rock, metal, country does.
That's so true. Country does, so yeah.
But they don't get a lot of that attention that the labels give to pop and hip hop, and so we kind of wanted to focus our attention on the ones that were needing the most amount of help. And then honestly, between me and my business partners, our background, our knowledge in different genres, none of them really resonated with any of those specific genres. So nothing against them. A lot of talented artists in both of those genres, but we decided to kind of keep our focus, still be diverse, but focus on the other genres.
Yeah, I would say if I was like, I do the podcast and at first it was kind of, do I want to interview country artists and hip hop artists? It was kind of just rock because that's kind of my main thing is metal and punk rock. So I understand that you know more about the industry on that side, so might as well focus on that side of the industry. So I saw you cater to emerging artists. So does that mean that if someone seeks you out or you seek someone else out, is there a certain criteria you want them to meet before you decide to pick them up?
Yeah. So, during the pandemic, it was crazy enough as it is. During the pandemic, we were getting probably close to 100, if not more, requests for management every month. And, probably because the bands had a lot more extra time to be on the internet researching, doing things like that. And in retrospect, if you look at our roster, we only have 15 artists, right? And we did that. We do that for a reason. One of the things that we wanted to do was make sure that we were giving all of our artists that we do manage our utmost attention. We have dedicated teams. So, collectively as an organization, we manage all of our artists as a group, but we do assign each of them a management team. So one of the head managers and then 2 assistants. And so we wanted to make sure we weren't spreading ourselves too thin. But when we do, we will usually review every submission we get, listen to the music, check out their socials. What we do look for is, a few different things, really. One is, do they have the sound? Do they have the look? Are they marketable? And then we really dig deeper into their music and, how active they are on social media, how active they are with streaming, how much discography they've got out. And one of the big, I guess, misconceptions with a lot of bands is they think that they need management. And, we tell them like, don't take offense to this, but you may not be ready for management. And we'll give you feedback and we'll tell you that. But there gets to be to a point where bands do require management. And we kind of, educate them on kind of the steps and what we feel a band is at the point. They've had experience touring. They're, used to playing larger crowds, things like that. And those are the ones that we typically look for. And then it really comes down to, as a collective group, if we feel like one of those bands is in our wheelhouse, then we kind of continue on with the dialogue. Okay.
When you're managing a band, what all goes into that? Because I'm sure there's probably some structuring involved, right? Yeah. And I would say that a lot of bands probably don't know how to structure. Like me, the podcaster, I wasn't very structured until Sam kind of came involved. And do you find that structure with bands is one of the main things that you have to focus on, especially if they're younger?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Because you get bands that are all over the place. Like they know they want to do this, know they want to do that, but they don't know how to get there. And so one of the things that we're big on is communication, right? Going back to the MVK concept, and one of the things that we noticed was whether it was labels or management companies that were working with artists, they weren't communicating with them. So artists, we were hearing getting feedback that I don't get, I don't hear from anybody, don't hear from my manager, and so we communicate them on a regular basis. We have weekly or biweekly calls. We communicate with them. We do check-ins. But we also, our job is to mentor them through the process. So even the most seasoned touring artists, there's things that they will come to us and say, hey, I need your input. I need your advice on this. And you do find it varies. I mean, you did mention some of the younger artists, but, we've got some young artists that are actually pretty far advanced in the way that they're thinking and the stuff that they've got, their branding, the way that they do their merchandise. And then some that, could be older, they just don't know, and they've never really they not have been lazy, but they just kind of taken the easy way. And we kind of have to get them on track and say, this is what you need to focus on. We need to make sure that we're staying the course and getting you on pace to, kind of take it to the next level.
I'm going to take back what I said about younger artists, because really I feel like with technology, the younger ones are the ones that know how to actually advertise and promote themselves probably better than like the mid 30, early 40-year-olds. You get the 18-year-old, he's doing all the different programs, making his own music videos, all that shit. But then you got the older guys like, how do you do this?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Yeah. So 15 bands. All right. So 15 bands under your roster. As a management team, is 15 bands, and you have quite a few members on your team under your employees, right? Plus you got 3 partners. Is 15 bands, is that a lot to manage? And what would you say the sweet number of we get this many bands we don't want anymore? Is there a limit to that?
Yeah. So very good question, right? So right now we kind of we decided that we're at our, I don't want to say limit, but we're kind of, it would have to be a good situation for us to continue to expand on. Now, does that mean we're not going to take on more bands? Definitely you're going to take on more bands, but we want to do it. We want to sustain our growth. And so as we look to hire on more artist managers and get people on board, then we can start to expand and grow from there. A lot of people don't realize there's a lot that goes into managing a band. Just one, even if it's a solo artist, working with releases, planning PR and press releases, scheduling out tour runs, just the day-to-day things that come up, making sure that they get approval for licensing, just so many different things that, you don't think about, that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. So like my days are consumed between dealing with stuff outside of the artist directly and with the artist. Obviously I want to make sure that all of the ones that I work with directly are handled and things are moving along, smoothly and effectively, but it's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So I know like Attila tonight, he had 2 of his bands had called back to back. So he had, one of our bands Venturous and then one was Seasons. And, so sometimes we don't finish up until 11, 12 o'clock at night. Where some of our artists are on the West Coast, so we have to kind of obviously work around their schedules as well. So
because you're on East Coast time in Orlando.
Yeah. So we're on East Coast time. Yeah.
So you're about 9 o'clock for you over there.
That's correct. Yep.
So, and I got a question, man. So, I just kind of think of things when I ask them. Do you have to put out a lot of fires when you're doing, like, do bands call you like arguing like you're their dad? Like, he doesn't want to do this. Does that happen a lot?
Yeah. Actually, it does. I mean, I will say our bands are they're pretty civil and they get along really well. They're mature, professional. But, you do get situations where you have to kind of, jump in and handle a disagreement or, there were bands we've worked with in the past that are no longer in a roster that we basically had to play the parent and be like, you're not going to do this, sit in timeout, basically, here's how things are going to work. But, like I said, I think we've gotten better as a company of realizing the types of bands, who they are before we start to take them on and seeing how far along they are, what their thought processes are, where the chemistry is between the artists themselves, the band members. So that's really helped us because we didn't want to make it a point of really being thorough with our selections so that we kind of scale that down. And, there's always going to be times when you have to put out a fire.
Sure.
That's to some point inevitable. But I think if you can do your pre-work and make sure that you know who you're going to be dealing with ahead of time and their dynamic, you save yourself a lot of headache.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people that want to get into management really don't understand, like you have to put yourself out there as a manager. You can't just be like, I'm going to help book your shows. So my next question is, let's say you have a band you've been working with for quite a few years. Let's say the band, they want to kick someone out of the band. For some reason, it's not working out with this particular member and they need a new bass player or new guitarist or whoever. And they come to you. Is it your job or their job, or do you help out to find that replacement that would fit their group, especially maybe just on touring?
Yeah, we've had that situation occur with a few of our bands. And, we as a company, we don't say, hey, we are responsible for finding the replacement. We will help if they need to. A lot of times what will happen is we try to mediate and try to make sure that that's the right decision before they do that. And if it's a collective thing and they mutually want to part ways, they usually at that point will have somebody in mind and they'll say, hey, here's what we're thinking and run it by us. It's not like we're going to say, no, we don't want you, but it's good that they at least respect the process enough to say, hey, we're gonna go to Brian or Jesse or Tilla and make sure that it's that they are aware and if it's okay. So
yeah, because what if you're like, I don't like the guy, he sucks.
yeah, and then
There's
we're
no
like,
sign on your roster.
right. But they do know. I mean, obviously, being that they're under management, under contract, and stuff like that, they know that bringing in a new dynamic is going to change things up. And so, it is really, they're doing their due diligence by making sure that they run it past us before kind of moving forward.
I saw that MVK does a whole lot of different things that you help out with bands, and recordings was one of them. So, and now you're not a label, you're a management team, and you also put MPK, was it MPKs? Is that what they're called?
EPKs, yeah.
EPKs, thank you. I got MVK. So EPKs. But when it comes to recording, not being a label, how do you help the bands with the recording process?
Yeah, so we actually have 4 in-house producers. I say that they're 4 the best, probably world-class producers on our team. So in-house with our artists, they can work with them. They can choose to work with them. We don't force them to work with them. They can work with any producer they want. And then anybody that comes to us and says, hey, I need to have a single, an EP, or an album produced, they can come to us and we can do a consultation and set them up. But, just to kind of shed some light on our producers, I mean, we have Toby Wright. Toby Wright produced pretty much all the early Alice in Chains, Metallica, Korn, Ozzy, Kiss, Slayer. So he's got a lot under his belt. David Dominguez, also out in LA. He's done Stain, Weezer, Guns N' Roses, Papa Roach, Stabbing Westward. We got Dave Hillis, who's done Afghan Wigs, Pearl Jam, Temple of the Dog. He's done some of the Alice in Chains stuff as well. And then we got Peter Klett, who's here in Florida, and he did some of the Candlebox. He's also the founding guitarist of Candlebox itself.
Okay.
So, and that, as far as that goes, if somebody came to us and said, hey, I need to have, we want to produce an album, we want to do this, we want to work with them, we will make sure that we kind of match them with the producer that will probably best fit their criteria.
Right.
Start a consultation and get that going and get them into the studio. Or, during the pandemic, we were able to do things virtually as well. So.
Yeah, so during the pandemic, how did MVK Music Group, and were you guys able to sustain an income and a workflow with bands? Because I would assume as managers, do you help with the booking as well, like concerts and things like that?
Yeah, so we do to a certain degree. We always tell we'll tell artists we're not a booking agency. Okay. If you have a booking manager, then they should be communicating with us. If we want you to work with a booking agency, booking manager, we have started the process of actually kind of building out in-house booking to a certain degree. But our booking assistants really are there to work with outside our booking partners that we work with on the outside. But we can help with that. We actually do event production. So we're actually, now that live shows are back here in Florida, we're back to putting on live events. We're now back to revisiting the multi-day festival we were going to put on. So, we can have our artists perform at those. And if there's, let's say around the Florida area, Southeast, we can build out tour runs and do things like that. But large scale, we try to partner with outside.
That's pretty cool, man. I think it's neat to have a management team on your level and doing some pretty cool things. And the bands that you guys have. I mean, I know Seasons. They've been on the show before. What do you look for? So I would assume I know what you look for when it comes to that style of music. But what kind of country would you say best fits? Let's say there's a country artist out there that's looking to get picked up by a management team, and they're just not really finding what suits your country style of music.
Yeah. So, I'll take, for instance, our one country artist, Cody Weaver, right? The guy's phenomenal. So he can command a crowd. Great. I mean, such a talented voice. But the one thing about Cody, and what I really respect about him, is he doesn't want to fall into that, I'm going to do what typical labels look for, is that what we call bro country or bubblegum country, right? Uh-huh. He brings in a lot of different influences. So, and a lot of times when you say, if you're interviewing him, he won't just say country. He'll say country rock, or he has a lot of influences of country. As a matter of fact, a lot of members of his band came from metal. So some of their music, you can hear heavier riffs and things like that in there. But, with Cody, it was a combination of a lot of different things, right? Just his sound. He's never satisfied with, the music that he puts out. as far as that being the best. He's always like, I can do better. And his next album, he puts that, he work on it. He tries to outdo the last one. So it kind of comes to a combination of the look, the sound, and really just the work ethic, which, I think all of our artists just have such an outstanding work ethic. But yeah, the country side, I mean, you get these country artists that try to get up to the next level. And then you've got guys that are like, diamonds in the rough, like Cody, that are such talented guys. And it's just a matter of kind of getting more exposure for them.
And I want to thank you for correcting me on EPK and not just, that's what it is. Some people don't even correct me. They just go on with it. I mean, I watch it later. I'm like, God, I'm an idiot.
I do like the EVK though, because that can be like almost like our own proprietary EPK. So
see, there you go.
EVK.
What I write down here? Okay, guys, I wrote something down in scratch there. When a band is looking to get picked up by a management team, do you want them to already have an EPK to send to you? Even though I know you probably helped create them, do you like that as far as it shows their motivation and their seriousness?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to have that. It does give a little bit of insight, but a lot of times, we've come across bands that don't have EPKs, but they have a lot of other stuff. They have a great website. We look at merch, like I said. We look at, do they build out a link tree and at least provide access to all of their pages in one area? But yeah, I mean, if you have an EPK, that's all bands should have an EPK. Doesn't matter if you're under management or not. I highly recommend that because if you are going to get shopped in, whether it's by a label or a management company or anybody booking, having that EPK at hand is like a snapshot. It's basically like a resume for a band to say, hey, here's everything we've done. And here's what we are about. That's like basically like your business card. So we always tell bands, think of yourself as a business, right? You're a brand yourself well. And for us, seeing bands that have put in forth the effort to create a good website, think about their merch, think about their branding side of things is huge.
What would you say your end game is as far as if an artist comes to you, you're going to build them? Are you going to try to grow them, shop them to like a huge label, or do you want to keep them and you go with them when they get pushed onto maybe a huge, universal record deal or something like that?
Yeah. So, the goal is to keep them on with us, right? We want to make sure, even if they're, if they're to the point of being like the next Metallica, then we want to make sure we're continuing to work with them. But it's our job to make sure that if we're, looking out for labels, that we find the best label, because a lot of bands will get hit up by labels, whether, small or medium sized ones. And it's really on us to kind of do the negotiating and make sure that those contracts are in the best favor of the artist. Right. But our end goal is to continue to work with them, managing them through. If they're on a label, they still are going to be managed. It's just a matter of us working with that label and making sure that everybody's on the same page.
On that note, do you get a lot of bands coming to you with other management teams, like bullshit ones that are hitting them up, blowing a bunch of smoke up their asses?
Oh, all the time.
How come you're not doing this for me? This guy said he could do this for me. How come you're not doing that?
Yeah.
What do you tell those guys?
Yeah, so we get a lot of that a lot. And one of the things when we talk to bands, if there is an interest on our end, we do spend a lot of time during the initial conversation talking about expectations, because I'm never going to promise, we don't like overpromise and underdeliver on it. We're going to say, here's what we can do for you, here's what we don't do. We want you to know straight, be as fully transparent as possible. But it aggravates me. And Jesse and Attila know this, that I get so frustrated. And it's a big part of like why we say artist first, is because there are so many labels, there's so many management companies out there that have really taken advantage of the artist and promising them the world, and then they do nothing for them. Labels will say, hey, pay us this amount, be on our label, we're going to get you, here. And then they do, the band does all the marketing, gets them out there, and then they get shelved or dropped. And then it's like, now it's harder for them to get on a label, because then they look as used goods. They're basically like, well, why you were on this label and got dropped, so why am I going to take you on?
That's so crazy. That goes, what you just said right there, follows very many industries besides just the music industry. You shop something around too much, no matter how good it is, people eventually don't want it.
Yeah.
It's crazy that you said that, because in the industry I'm in, it's the same thing. Not podcasting. I actually have a job. I got to make money somehow. This doesn't pay the bills, I promise you. So yeah, dude. Is there anything that you would like to say that I haven't covered? But I did want to mention one thing. On that last note, HBO, it was either HBO or Netflix or one of those stations or channels or whatever, did a special about fake managers and fake labels, where they somehow are able to raise money and pump it into. Do you ever run across people like that just on your day-to-day dealing with people in the music industry? Those people that are, you just know they're kind of full of shit, but they talk a good game.
Yeah. So, as MVK was taking off, we had a lot of success, right? We kind of, everybody knew us from the Maverick side. And then as MVK took off, we started getting approached by a lot of people that wanted to work with us. And while we love working with people, we love building up the community. We're very thorough, I guess you could say, on, making sure that we know the ins and outs and kind of investigating those people, because, we've been told, oh, we want to do this. We're going to help your bands do this. And if we don't feel like it's really in the best advantage of our artists, we just, we've had a lot of that. It's like, oh, we promised you we're going to do this. And even some of our artists, right, when we've taken them on, they were working with certain people prior to joining MVK, and we're like, oh yeah, they're going to do this, and that. Nothing ever happened. You hear crickets, nothing from them. And I said, well, you got taken. It's just, it's a, happens in this world. But where we come in is really on being able to kind of vet out those opportunities and say, this is a good opportunity. This one's shit. Stay away from this. Right. And that's basically how it is really on, we've been doing it long enough to know who the good people are and who the bad people are.
Last question I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to give you the floor to talk about whatever you want to talk about that maybe I didn't bring up. I'm sure there's all kinds of things I probably didn't ask that you want to get out there. But when you're looking to hire somebody to join the team to help you out with managing the artist, whether it's, for whatever the reasons is, publicist maybe, or different aspects, what kind of person are you looking for to join the team as you grow?
Yeah, so definitely want somebody who's outgoing, right? It's one thing to be introverted and whatnot, and you can kind of work through things. Maybe if you're on a computer all day, that's great. But for us, dealing with artists, dealing with people outside, looking for somebody that is outgoing, passionate about music, right? You have to love what you're doing. And I can say that everybody on our team is passionate about music. They want to work in a field that they feel rewarding, but it's something that's close to their heart. And ultimately, they're our family. So for us, we look for people that are have that creative mindset, innovative thinkers. And we don't require necessarily to have experience. Like, we will train people, we'll bring people in. Right. They have interns and other people that we've brought in that we've trained, because I want to get my foot in the door. I want to get in the music industry. I want to learn it. And really, they have the drive and the work ethic, then we can build off of that. And, one of the things that I'm probably most proud about was last year, kind of going back to our conversation earlier, we were all on a roll. We were at NAMM in January. Then we went to Chicago to see one of our bands. Then all of a sudden, everything just shut down, right? No live music, bands couldn't tour. And we were like, what the hell are we going to do now? It's, our bands were freaking out because they're like, we can't tour, we can't play live shows. We don't know how long this is going to go on for. And I told Jesse and Attila, I'm like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to utilize the time that we don't normally have, because we're so busy, to really strategize for MVK and also continue to help our bands, but spending a lot of time building out MVK. And we actually grew our the company, the staff, over the course of the pandemic. Because we actually had the time to do that. And we were, strategizing on growth and where we wanted to head to. We knew that it was going to be an end in sight. It's just, we didn't know how long it was going to be. And so, we amassed a great team. And, like I said, they're part of a large family, and having them on there, having them really take the initiative, take the drive to own, be a part owner of MVK and really, own the culture and work with our bands, I think has been, phenomenal to see over the course of the year.
That's awesome, man. I'm going to go with social media, stalk every single one of your bands and check them out. I will. And anything that I maybe didn't touch base on, anything you want to get out there, maybe to say to people who might be watching the episode.
Yeah. So for musicians, do your research. Don't think that you necessarily have to have a management or be on a label, because you don't. Or maybe you're not ready at that point. So make sure that they understand, what it takes for, a band to really need management, when they need management, and when you need to be on a label. Because a lot of bands can get by without that. And, I'd rather see a band work their ass off and get further than having them signed to a label that's drawing them dry, and then basically getting nowhere. So, be thorough about it. There's a lot of people in this industry. When you mentioned the word movement, and that's one of our slogans, is the new movement in music management and promotions, is because we wanted to create a different, a revolution or a different momentum from the way that things are being done right now. So be thorough. If you can self-manage yourself until you find the right group or the right person, then do that. But don't be in a rush to get to finding a manager or label, because 9 times out of 10, you don't need it, or you're not at the point where you need it yet.
I think that is fantastic advice. I am not in a band or a band that's going anywhere anyways. But that is great advice. And I hear that all the time being a podcaster. So I hope everyone that listens, new bands, artists that are coming up and emerging, listen to what he said. You don't need it. But if you do, people like MVK, they're there to help you guys out. Right?
Sure. That's for sure.
All right, man. Hey, real quick before we let you go, what is your website? And I know you guys got some merch on there, so tell us all about that too. Then we'll peace out.
So our MVK website is mvkmusicgroup.com. And apparel side, the Maverick one is Maverick Apparel, CO for short for company.com. So anybody that's watching, if you use the code backstage20, you'll get a discount strictly through here.
Right.
But yeah, MVK Music Group, you can check out all of our bands and solo artists, and we have basically a breakdown of their bios, their music, their EPKs, and all that stuff. So.
All right, Brian, I want to thank you for being on the show. I don't want you to go anywhere. I want you to stay right there just for 1 second or like a minute. I want to thank all of our listeners. Go check out www.theloudspot.net. We got some new merch coming up. We're excited about that. Go check out our Instagram, our Facebook. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. We're on TikTok. We're on everything. www.theloudspot.net. Check out all the audio. Go to YouTube. Check out our videos. Brian, stay right there. Peace out. Rock on. Much love.
This is the Loud Spot outro by nothing short of tragic. Is this all talk with no action? No. Is this my thoughts with distraction? No. Is this what I bought that's in fashion? Or is this the Loud Spot with Sebastian? Yes. Does nothing short of tragic have us back again? Yes. Does everything that's good really have to end? Yes. A pin code has a pin show, so to get more episodes, make an order. This is over.
Thanks for watching our video. Don't forget to click the like and share button.
Don't forget to go to our YouTube and subscribe.
If you want to listen to our audio and pick up some cool merch, go to www.theloudspot.net. Peace out. Rock on.